Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. We are dealing with chapter number 11, that is sound. Students, in the last lecture we have discussed the introduction, definition and explanation of sound waves. And the topic that we are going to discuss today is the characteristics of sound. In this topic, we will learn how many characteristics of sound are there. We will define them and explain in detail with the help of example, and we will discuss the factors on which the characteristics of sound depends. So let's proceed. All sounds begin with vibrating matter. The sound produced when something vibrates, or you can say when there is vibration, there is sound. I am speaking and my voice is produced due to the vibration in my vocal cords. We hear a lot of sounds in our surroundings and we can recognize them. How? Sound of different object is different on the basis of characteristics that we are going to discuss. The characteristics of sound are loudness, pitch, and quality of sound. First of all, we will discuss the loudness of sound. The loudness of sound determined by the sound intensity. What is intensity? Intensity is a measure of amount of energy in sound waves. Or you can define the loudness that it is the characteristics of sound by which a loud and a faint sound can be distinguished. You can understand what is loud and a faint sound with the help of this video.
Sounds are powerful sounds that are high volume. Soft sounds are gentle sounds that are low in volume. We use our ears to listen to these sounds, or our sense of hearing. These things produce loud sounds. Let's listen to them. These things produce soft sounds. Let's listen to them.
I hope students, this video clear the concept of loud and the faint sound. The loudness of sound depends upon some factors. The first one is amplitude of vibrating body, the area of vibrating body, and the distance from the vibrating body. What is the amplitude of vibrating body? The amplitude means the height of sound wave. If the amplitude is high, a loud sound can be produced. And if the amplitude is low, a feeble sound can be heard. So, the loudness of vibrating body has a direct relation with the loudness of sound. What is the area of vibrating body means? The area means the large surface. Look at the figure. There is a large drum and a small drum. If we beat the large drum, it produces a high sound. But if we beat a small drum, it produces a low sound because the area of large drum is more as compared to the small drum, and there is more particles in the large drum as compared to the small drum. So we hear a loud sound when we beat the large drum. And we can say that the area of vibrating body has direct relation with loudness. Now, what is the distance from vibrating body? If the distance from the vibrating body is large, we can hear a low sound. and due to the large distance, the amplitude decreases. So, we can say that the distance from vibrating body has the inverse relation with the loudness of sound. The loudness of sound also depend upon the physical condition of the ears of the listener. A sound appears louder to a person with sensitive ear than to a person with a defective ear. Students, these are the factors on which the loudness of sound depends. Now, let's proceed to the second characteristics of sound, that is pitch. We can define pitch as it distinguishes between shriller and flatter sound. Flatter sound is also called grave sound. Now, what are the factors on which the pitch depends? It depends upon the frequency of sound. What is frequency of sound? The frequency of waves is the number of waves that pass a fixed point in a given amount of time. Look at the figure. This is a high frequency wave and this is a low frequency wave. In the high frequency wave, there is large number of waves passing in a given time period as compared to the low frequency wave. Students, to understand the concept of pitch in detail, watch this video.
The pitch of a sound tells us how shrill or deep it is. Like hello and
Hello.
observe that the girl's voice is shrill and the boy's voice is deep. Let's take a closer look. The pitch of a sound depends upon the vibrations of sound in 1 second. That is, the frequency measured in hertz. The greater the frequency, the higher the pitch, and the lower the frequency, the lower the pitch. Since male voices tend to be deeper than female voices, male voices have a lower pitch, or in other words, lower frequency.
I hope students you understand it. Now, the next characteristic of sound is quality of sound. The characteristic of sound by which we can distinguish between two sounds of same loudness and pitch is called quality of sound. To make your concept more clear about the quality of sound, students watch this video.
Listen to some music. Is it a single instrument or are two instruments playing? For sure, there are two instruments playing. One sounds like a violin and the other one a sitar. Both the instruments were producing their sound with the same pitch and loudness. But still, we could identify the difference in the instruments because of the type of sound they are producing. The sound produced by every instrument has a unique characteristic that distinguishes it from other sounds with the same pitch and same loudness. This characteristic of sound is the quality or the timbre of the sound. The sound which is more pleasant to hear is said to be of a rich quality. The sound produced by both the violin and sitar are pleasant to listen to. Thus, these sounds are of rich quality. On the other hand, the sound produced by a tuning fork is not pleasant to hear and hence is of poor quality.
I hope students you got it. These are the waveforms of guitar and the sitar. Both have the different quality, but their loudness and the pitch is same. Now, the last characteristic of sound is intensity. The intensity of sound is defined as the sound passing per second through a unit area held perpendicular to the direction of propagation of sound wave is called intensity of sound. Intensity of sound do not depend upon the sensitivity of ear. It depends on the amplitude of sound wave. The loudness of sound also depend upon the amplitude of sound wave. But in the case of intensity, we can say that the area that is perpendicular to the direction of propagation of waves, the sound energy passing per unit the last characteristic of sound is intensity. What is intensity of sound? It is defined as the sound energy passing through a unit area held perpendicular to the direction of propagation of sound waves is called intensity of sound. The intensity of sound depends upon the amplitude of sound wave. As you know, the loudness of sound also depends upon the amplitude of sound wave. The intensity of sound wave do not depend upon the sensitivity of ear. The intensity is a physical quantity and can be measured accurately. The unit of intensity of sound is watt per square meter. इंटेंसिटी ऑफ साउंड का क्या मतलब है कि साउंड एनर्जी जो पास कर रही है पर सेकंड एक एरिया में से जिसको हमने परपेंडिकुलर रखा हुआ है डायरेक्शन ऑफ प्रोपगेशन ऑफ साउंड के, तो उस एरिया में से जितनी साउंड एनर्जी पास करेगी पर सेकंड इट इज कॉल्ड द इंटेंसिटी ऑफ साउंड. दैट्स व्हाई इट डज नॉट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द सेंसिटिविटी ऑफ ईयर. Now we will discuss the difference between the loudness and the intensity of sound. The loudness of sound is subjective in nature, but the intensity is objective. You can say that the loudness of sound is individual, but the intensity of sound is neutral. It is not completely physical quantity, but the intensity is a physical quantity and can be measured accurately. The loudness of sound depends upon the sensitivity of ear, but intensity do not. The unit of loudness is decibel and that of intensity is watt per square meter. At the end of this lecture, it is the time for your home task. Your home task includes some review question of your exercise that is related to the today's lecture. Question 11.7, 11.8, 11.12 and 11.13 from the exercise. Solve this with the help of this lecture, and also you have to do this quick quiz with the help of today's lecture, and tell me in the case of any query, ask me, I will help you. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.